So, welcome to a Correctiv live talk. We would like to talk about the current situation in Russia because there has been a new situation since today. It seems that there is a revolt starting from within. And I'm very happy that we have an expert for Correctiv here. It's Sergey Lukashevsky, the head of the Sacharow Center in Moscow. He's currently based in Berlin in exile, and I'm very grateful that you have the time to answer a couple of questions right now. Hi, Sergey.
Hi, Justus, and thank you for inviting me.
So we just do this in a very spontaneous way because many of you have heard about the new situation. So what we are currently observing is that Jewgeni Prigoschin, the leader of the Wagner group, who actually used to fight for the Putin regime in Ukraine lately, turns against Putin right now. He and his troops are on the way from, if I understand it right, from Rostov on the border of Ukraine to Moscow. Jewgeni Prigoschin is on the way to Moscow. There is an oil storage in Voronezh on the way to Moscow, which is already on fire. So that's what we hear. Is this so? What is currently happening there, Sergey? Is this the beginning of a revolt in Russia?
First, all of us, not only foreign observers, but Russians too, have no real information about the situation. Only some small details and flashes from various sides. In my opinion, we cannot say today that it is a beginning of a revolt. It is uprising. It is uprising of this private army. It is the turn of the conflict, which was made Putin by himself. Absolutely. He wanted to make army, not himself, responsible for the defeat in Ukraine in the beginning of the war, for the defeat of Blitzkrieg. And he make Prigozhin in a situation when he can criticize very hard the Ministry of Defense and the army commanders. But finally, Putin had to make choice, and he did it as maybe in last February, when Gerasimov, the head of the general staff of the army, became the only leader of the army. And several weeks ago, there was a special order of Minister of Defense, Shoigu, that all these soldiers of private war companies have to sign contracts with Ministry of Defense. And I think that the real reason for that uprising was a try to disarm Wagner Group. And today we see that they entered Rostov-na-Don and take several important buildings of structure of Ministry of Defense. And we could see that the Wagner soldiers are inside the building of the general staff in Rostov, and we saw Prigozhin speaking with the vice minister of defense. So the Rostov-na-Don, 1 million city of Russia, very close to the Ukrainian border, into the conflict, is under part control of Wagner's. also they know that there are Wagner columns in marching on Moscow, and they passed the Voronezh. There is no concrete particular information about the real clashes between Wagner's and regular troops. There is information about several helicopters which were shot by Wagner's. But no information about any other clashes. And there is some small information that paratroopers rejected to fight with Wagner's. So it's a very difficult situation for Putin. He needs to start the war in very big Russian cities, or to see like Wagner's column marching on Moscow.
So what is Prigozhin actually aiming at? So if he tries to go to Moscow, what do you think what he wants to do?
In the first hours of this uprising, it seems like Prigozhin wants to call loudly to Putin, save our army. We don't want to be with Shoigu. We are ready to fight for Russia and for you, but not with Shoigu. But when Putin made his statement and named Prigozhin as traitor, Prigozhin understood that he is not today a Putin soldier. He is by himself with his soldiers, with his Wagner soldiers. So I think Prigozhin has a problem of what to do. He is marching on Moscow, but what will he do in Moscow? He will try to storm the Kremlin, the State Duma. So it's a great challenge for him.
So Putin reacted in a TV speech? So as you said, he called Prigozhin a traitor. So there's a inner war, kind of. So Putin against Prigozhin. That seems to be a challenge for Putin himself. So what do you think Putin is able to do now, and how will he react?
First of all, he already made a reaction. He named Prigozhin traitor, and so he decided to crush him. But the best way for him, the best option, is to organize a kind of coup d'etat inside Wagner. That somebody inside Wagner detains Prigozhin and will give it to the official forces, to FSB or somebody like that, or a kind of special operation. It is the best way. It is the best way for Putin. But the problem is, could he be successful in such an operation? Maybe he couldn't. But the time is on the Putin side. Because if the situation paused in such a way that it is now, there will be a lot of opportunity for the authorities to negotiate with ordinary Wagner soldiers and try to argue that it would be better for them to put down their arms and to go away from Prigozhin. So Prigozhin needs to have a real plan what he will do next 2 days. I think next 2 days will be critical for Prigozhin and for Putin. But for Putin, the problem is that the bureaucracy and the army declared that they, of course, are on his side. But the real question is, will they do something actively or not? That is the real problem for Putin.
So do you see a kind of a situation where the situation around Putin is collapsing, or that his system is kind of breaking down, or when would be the right moment to assess the situation? You said like 2 days. We have to see what happens in the next 2 days.
Of course, it is the example of erosion of the regime. Of course, no doubts. But from the outside, we don't know. We couldn't exactly understand the real situation inside the system. Because everybody saw all these months, not days, all these months, how the conflict between Prigozhin and Shoigu became higher and higher and higher. But nobody predicted, even till yesterday's morning, that there will be a real uprising. So we don't see the real internal situation of the regime. It seems that Putin continues to be strong, but it could fall down in several days. Absolutely. So our option only is to monitor, to observe the situation, and that's all. But as I mentioned, it wouldn't be weeks; it would be days, 2 or maybe several more.
So what does it mean for the war, the Russian war against the Ukraine? Because the Prigozhin troops were kind of crucial in different battlefields on the Russian side. And does it mean now that for the Ukraine, chances are higher to go on the offense? And what kind of challenges is there now for the Russian military?
Of course, if your enemy faced a kind of uprising or coup d'etat or something like that, it is a chance to fight and to go forward and to attack, of course. But by this day, Wagners were not on the front line. And the tactics, the strategy of Russian troops were to defend, not to attack. And the first days, the first weeks of Ukrainian counteroffensive showed that Russian army are quite good in defending their positions. So in a very short term, it means nothing for the situation. But it's a problem for Russia of the reserves. Of course, because Wagners are thousands of soldiers which could be used to stop next wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive. Of course, Putin needs to send troops to fight with Prigozhin, not to fight on the Ukrainian front. So, of course, it is a chance, and Putin is becoming weaker because of this uprising, and I think we will see the attempt of Ukraine army to attack Russian positions in such a situation.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Sergey. I think this is more or less what we can say right now. Thank you very much for the insights, views, and your opinion as well. And we will keep track of the situation, and we will also come back on the situation and try to see what happens in the next 2 days, as you say. So this will be the crucial time to see if there will be a real revolt or whatever it means, a coup, or if Putin has the abilities to strike back, as you say, maybe through an internal war against, or kind of a coup against the Wagner troops through the FSB. So we will see, and we will keep track. So thank you for listening, and see you soon. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.